Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining me. My name is Frances, and I am an advisor at the Robert Mehrabian College of Engineering here at UC Santa Barbara. I am the advisor who works most closely with our engineers who wish to study abroad. And so today I have a short video, not meant to replace meeting with me, but rather to give you a brief overview of the tools and resources available on our website so that when we do meet, our meeting will be more productive. Hopefully, you've already found your way to the COE Study Abroad website. On here, you'll find links to most of the resources that we'll be discussing, as well as a general timeline. Many of our students go abroad summer after sophomore year or fall of their junior year. Most of the partner institutions are on the semester program, so the fall works quite well because you're only missing one UCSB quarter. So you'll notice the timeline listed on the screen. We should be meeting, basically, you're doing this process about a year in advance of your intended departure. You may need to make some adjustment to the timeline depending on the application dates for the program in question. But roughly speaking, you can expect to meet with me in October prior to going abroad so that you can match some courses for review in November and then have some time to work on your EAP application over the holiday break and meet the deadlines in January. I will say though, some of these programs have limited seats, and so it is important as you're starting, even now, early on, to look at the application deadlines. They'll all open for summer in November or slightly later in November for the fall program. So they all have an application open date, and then they have a hard closure date, which will really vary by program. However, some of the programs do fill, which means that even though the deadline isn't until January or February, if it is a program that's high in demand, you may indeed need to get your application in when the application period opens. So again, your timeline might need to be adjusted slightly. The best way to do the search is on the UCEAP site. And so down here under the bottom, on the bottom, there are the resources page and you'll see the UCEAP site. There is a program search filter. You're not going to look at all 168 programs. You might have an idea of what part of the world you're interested in. And then if you are thinking during a fall, winter, spring term, you almost certainly are going to need some coursework that corresponds to your major requirements. And so I would say that you should click off your subject area. So for example, you could say that you are a chemical engineering student and you are most interested in going to Europe. This takes us to 13 programs. You might know a specific country that you have in mind, so you could search by area, but if you're just trying to get the overview, you might just search by that part of the world. You may want to go ahead and look for courses taught in English. I will say the filter is not quite sophisticated enough to confirm that chemical engineering courses are taught in English in Madrid. So this is just saying these are institutions that have engineering coursework in English, but not necessarily in your discipline. So that's one way that you might get started, and then 13 programs, it's a lot easier to click through. Again, you may already know that you have a certain country in mind, and so instead you could go directly to that country and then select your major to see which institutions have coursework available in your major. One other tool that you might find useful is Gaucho Credit Abroad. This is a UCSB specific tool. Now, this is data from where our students have gone in the past and how it has been applied to credit. So you could say, for example, again, I'll use chemical engineering. You want to see where previous ChemEs have gone and taken major coursework. You can see these are the countries, a small number of them. You could say, okay, let me see Scotland. They all go to Edinburgh, and let's see. And so this will show you what a student took, the title of the course there. This number is a UC assigned number, so you're not going to find this particular number abroad. So rather you're looking at the course title and then what they subbed it for. So for example, this separations process class subbed for chemical engineering 128. Do pay attention to the dates. Now, this is a great tool, can be a great way to get started to see where people have gone in the past, but remember, it is just a way to see where students have gone in the past. So it does not mean that this is a set of data for the only places where a student can necessarily study abroad. The other tool that you might find is the UCEAP Course Finder. Again, showing all courses that have transferred. And so you could again say, okay, I want to go to Australia and I'm interested in Melbourne and I'm computer science major and I'm looking for upper division computer science, for example. But this will just show you all of the computer science students that any UC student has taken. So this is not specific UCSB data. It can be helpful because it can give you an idea if that institution has a lot of transferable coursework in your major, and that could be a great way to start. But again, this is not specific to UCSB requirements. These are just other UC students, including UCSB students, but other UC students. One benefit of this, though, is in addition to the UC assigned course number and the title, you actually can find the host institution, department, and number. So when you are searching for things, that can make it a little easier. So those are two tools that might also help you search, but again, they're just historical data, so sometimes it's really best practice to also kind of use the Find a program. So what do you do once you actually find a program that seems like it has the courses that you need? Now, again, if you're going during the academic year, you very likely have UCSB coursework that you need to find a match for. And so that's why you might be looking at more than one of these programs. We have a process for you to get your courses reviewed by faculty in your departments, ideally prior to departure. So that's why this timeline that I've posted has quite a bit of room in it, because we want to make sure that you're choosing a program that has what you need. So the form that you'll use is right here under resources, the template, but essentially you're going to be filling out a spreadsheet like this. So your name, your perm, who you are, where you're going. And so for example, for this computer engineer, one of the required fall classes is ECE 154A. And so they've gone to Lund and the catalog and found that this institution does indeed in the fall have a computer architecture class. And they've actually put the link to the syllabus here. And so they also want to take some electives. So they found some classes that seem to be similar to our classes, and they're going to look for a general education course. So they're going to fill all this out with the links, and then back on our website, they will simply click that they are a computer engineering major, and they'll fill out this Google form and upload their spreadsheet. That way the faculty who are tasked with reviewing it can look at it and make decisions right on the spreadsheet, and then you would be given access to your spreadsheet. So based on these factors, that will lead you to determine if the course, or excuse me, if the program is a good fit and likely to have what you need so that you can continue to make progress. So how do you actually find these links to the spreadsheets? Well, again, on your Find a Program page, when you're looking at institutions, you might come down and look at the page itself. I was going to look for Edinburgh, for example. All of these will have the same shells, for lack of a better word, the same menus. So you can see dates and eligibility. What's the GPA? What dates do the program roughly run? What months? When you click on the Academics tab, you'll have some information about number of courses that you have to take while you're there and the amount of credit that will come back. Usually if there's some limitations, some courses are not available to certain majors, they'll post that here, and then generally they will have a course catalog to help you access. Some of them are pretty easy. So for example, this is Edinburgh. We go in to the course finder. Down here, it tells us that semester 1 is September through December. So we're going to click semester 1. This person wants to go in the fall, and then they would choose their major. So for example, if they are a chemical engineering major, we've now said, show me the access to the courses that you teach in the fall for chemical engineering. And so part of our discussion would be figuring out which classes you need to take. That should be listed in gear. And then some of it is looking at the coursework itself. So chemies need in fall of their junior year separations processes. I see they have one in fall. The student in this scenario would click on it, find the course information, and this is the link that they would copy and then put on their sample spreadsheet. So that's a rough outline of how to go through the process and look for courses. You likely are only ever submitting one spreadsheet, maybe two, so you're not going to be submitting a spreadsheet for every single program. Generally, you're going to go in and look and see, do they seem to have courses that kind of match up by title and keywords for the courses that I need to take. And then you would propose that on a spreadsheet once you're reasonably certain that they have a good number of matches. So you might be proposing a couple of places, but you're definitely not filling out spreadsheets for something like 6 different places. Other tools that are on here, if you'd like to hear from previous engineers who've studied abroad, there's a link to the EAP website with some YouTube videos from former engineers who've studied abroad, also linked to the UCSB EAP site. So these will be the folks that you'll contact if you have questions about housing while abroad, finances, scholarships, the actual application itself, what it's comprised of, or if you need some troubleshooting, you'll talk to them as well. If you'd like to meet with me, my booking link is on here in a couple different places about scheduling an appointment, and my email address is on there as well. So I look forward to meeting with you in the future. And again, this is not meant to replace our meeting, but it should hopefully give you an overview of the tools that we'll be discussing to make our meeting more productive. Thank you very much.